Hi, welcome to the ScreenwritersJourney.com. I am William Gilmore. This is day 130 of Season 2. Happy belated New Year to you. As you can see, there's been a few changes since my last post. We got the rocking the writer's beard here. Got a little Hemingway action going on. And if you've been wondering what's been going on for the last 78 days, I think it is, since my last post, well, a whole lot of nothing. And that has been incredibly stressful. As you may recall, as I was coming off of Season 1, going into Season 2, things were a little rough. I was having some issues with some scripts, not only my own, but some others that I was reading. And it just led to a lot of questioning what I was doing, why I was doing it. And on top of all that, what really made it stressful was I was out of work. And I'm technically still out of work. It has been a very rough, almost a full year now. It was March of 2016, almost a year ago, that my last big project ended. There's been a few odds and ends sort of gigs here and there that have kept things going, but it has been remarkably slow here in Los Angeles, particularly in the reality field. There seems to be some type of seismic shift in the project landscape in Los Angeles, and I'm not sure exactly what that is or why it's happened, but there's a lot of people out of work, a lot of people. And I'm certainly no exception to that rule. So it has been tough. And starting the second season back in September, the writing was starting to fall to the side as I was really scrambling trying to find steady work to pay some bills. And I have applied since the end of that last project probably to about 500 different projects, not just here in Los Angeles, because 500 sounds like there's a lot of work going on, but that's 500 projects or jobs located either here in Los Angeles or around the country, New York, Atlanta, Tampa, St. Louis, anywhere that there was an opening I was applying to. And I haven't been successful in any of them. And, there was a lot of questioning of my abilities and capabilities and, what's going on here after so many years of doing so well in the business. What has happened? And it's just, there's some kind of shift going on. Something is happening. A lot of the interviews that I do usually end with, well, we're sorry, you're just not qualified enough. You don't have the requisite qualifications for this particular job. And I'm looking at it going, this is like the easiest job in the world. How could I not be qualified? I've literally got decades of experience going into this. And then you find out that they've hired the hostess from the Cupcake Factory. That's right. One of my jobs that I applied to wasn't my job. It was their job. Went to a hostess from the Cupcake Factory. It was her only credit she had listed on LinkedIn, and absolutely no experience whatsoever in production, post-production, nothing. And she got hired over my lack of experience. So I think what it really comes down to is that I may be overqualified for a lot of these jobs, and they don't want to pay my rate. And that's an issue, and it seems to be an issue that's popping up for a lot of people. I don't want to go too far down that road because this is a writing website, but there's been a huge cutback in budgets in a lot of shows. I applied for one job where basically they had cut out all the camera positions. There were no cameramen. It was all done with remote cameras, GoPros essentially, not even standard broadcast type cameras. And they were just putting the GoPros up in the corners of the rooms, and they had one guy who'd go around and change the cards and the batteries, and that was it. The cameras didn't move. There were no zoom-ins, nothing. So really cheap show. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. They weren't following the characters outside of their bedroom, so I wasn't sure how they were going to set things up, and it seemed like a challenge. We'll put it that way, a challenge. But when I finally got to meet the executive producer and go in, it was one of those things where as soon as you walk in, you know that for whatever reason they don't like you. And her reasoning was, we're looking for someone who's really a writer, someone who knows how to do scripts. I was like, really? Perhaps you should look at my website all about screenwriting. And She's like, well, none of that's on your resume. I was like, well, because you're not looking for a writer. You were looking for a associate producer to do string outs, basically light editing. You didn't say you were looking for a writer, or else I would have given you my writer's resume. Anyway, enough of that. But with all that just sort of building up, by the time I got to November, I was disillusioned. I was really down. You can probably tell by some of my last blog post there that I was kind of out of it and done. And I think I needed to step away. I needed to step back a little bit, get a little perspective on what things were, where I was going, what I wanted to accomplish, and I needed a job to pay some bills. So somewhere around Thanksgiving, I kind of threw in the towel. I was like, I'm done. I can't afford to live here anymore. I can't pay the rent. I can't pay the car payment. It's time to go home. So I was going to pack it all in and do the proverbial move back home with the parents and live in the basement, sort of thing. They don't have a basement, but you get the idea. And I actually packed up all my stuff. The car was loaded, and I couldn't get everything in the car, so I packed up all the clothes, took it to UPS, and shipped them back home. And when I got home, getting ready to leave that weekend, there was a message waiting for me for a job interview. And that sounds great. You're all excited right now, aren't you? Well, let me pull the rug out from under you. It was about 2 weeks of interviews, meeting with multiple people, going on studio tours and going through facility tours and doing all this pre-application hoo-ha. So much going on. It was just crazy. They sat down with me, had story meetings. We talked about this idea. It was for a drug documentary. It sounded really exciting. It was really cool. When can you start? What is your rate? We went through rate negotiations. They accepted my rate, top rate. It was going to pay a lot of money. I was so excited. Great Christmas script. Great way to start the new year off. We'd like to get you in here as soon as next week. Can you do that? Yes! And then the call came. After reevaluating the project, we've decided we need to do some more work on it, so we're going to push it back. Maybe late January, but probably later, probably until March, April. So as much as we would really want to bring you on, and we hope you'll be available when we start this project finally, you might want to look for some other work. So there I was, just before Christmas, totally dejected, and I was like, I got just enough time to make this cross-country road trip and make it home for Christmas. So pack up the car once more, getting ready to leave, and I got a call from a company that I used to work for, and they were looking for someone to do some coverage over the Christmas break while their editors were going home to visit family for Christmas. And it was money. I needed it. I needed the cash infusion, so I said, yes, I'll do it. I'll forego going home. And, of course, they dangled the carrot of, it looks like we're going to be really busy in January. There'll be some work after the beginning of the year. Maybe we can keep you on. So, great. As it turned out, that work hasn't really materialized yet, so it was 2 weeks of coverage, and then, in a holding pattern, so I haven't been back. But it was 2 weeks of work, so that gave me a little cash infusion. That'll get me through a little bit longer, and it was great because I got to work with some people that I haven't been able to work with for quite a while. Some really good friends. It's a great company. I love the people there, and I got to work on some high-profile projects. And a couple of weeks I was there, I got to work on Martin Scorsese's Silence, doing some promos, and did some EPK work for Disney's upcoming Beauty and the Beast. So great resume, credits, and got to see some people that I haven't been able to spend some time with for a while, and I got a cash infusion. So it was all good all around, except for the fact that I didn't make it home for Christmas. So now we're in the new year, and what's going to happen? I don't know. I've got a little bit of money here, so we're going to hang out for just a little bit longer and see if reality picks up, or maybe some work will come in with this company, and I can go back. That would be great. But since I've got time on my hands, I started getting back into some writing, started dabbling with the writing. I finally sort of accepted the situation for what it is, and can now look at the writing without all this pressure, feeling, I've got to have a job, or I'm going to have to leave. Those decisions have all been made. It's just, which way does it go now? So back to the writing. I haven't been completely lackadaisical. I did, of course, that big article, 10 Things I Learned during my one-year screenwriting journey, which was my last post, I believe. And for NaNoWriMo, I did get one chapter. I got one chapter completed for the novel, so a little something there. And I just wrote a big article about BAFTA's decision to tie their major awards to diversity in cast and crew. Basically, beginning in 2019, if you don't have a diverse cast or a diverse crew, you will no longer be eligible for best film, best director, best breakout writer, things like that for the British awards. So I've done a big article about that. That'll probably be my next post, so that'll be coming out. And I think there was something else in there. I don't know. It's all down below in the blog section. But I did finally get around to some creative writing, and I picked up, if you may recall last year, I was talking very briefly about something called The Secret Project. And that was a project that I had in mind. I thought, well, maybe this is something that I can actually shoot. It's a short film. And with everything that happened last year and working on all the big scripts, it just sort of got pushed back, and I never got around to it. But I pulled it out the other day, and I had maybe half a page written on it. So I said, well, let's knock this out and see what we can do. So I ended up with a 10-page script. I took it into Rewrite's workshop on Thursday night. It went over supremely well. It couldn't have gone over any better. It was one of those things, because they're not actors, they're all writers who sit around a table and read it out loud and take notes. And for non-actors, I really got involved in it. They were obviously involved with the reading and were getting into it, and it went really nicely. I was very, very impressed. I got moved a couple times. I thought, wow, this actually turned out nicely. And the comments afterwards were just awesome. Just praise all around. My favorite comment was, my God, this is great writing. So I was feeling pretty good. That's not to say they didn't have negative criticisms or constructive criticisms, and they gave me a handful of those. And I took them home and did a quick rewrite the next morning, and some of those notes were really, really helpful. They were really good, really cleaned up the opening and set up things better. It gave it more of a sense of what I was trying for, and hadn't quite gotten there yet. Their notes helped me get there. So I was feeling pretty good about it. And I decided to send it off to my readers to see what they thought. I sent it off to 3 of them. 2 have gotten back to me. I'm still waiting for the 3rd. The first one that came back, now you may remember, I've just come off notes, my God, this is great writing. And the first note was, give up on this one. Don't waste any more time. You've spent too much energy on it already. The writing's not that good. It's not fresh. It's not original. I've seen it a million times. It's not that compelling. I don't even know what the point of it is. Ow! Would you be any more honest? You can't please everyone. So then I was kind of in this quagmire. I was kind of like, okay, which is it? Is it, damn, that's good writing? Or is it, don't waste any more time on it? So I was anxiously waiting those next 2 readers to see what their opinion was. And the next reader came back with, it's gripping, it's compelling, you have a great sense of tension, it's wonderful. So I'm like, okay, so vast extremes here. Love it, hate it, nothing in the middle. And I've been told that's good, that if you can really, conjure up those types of emotions for people, you've got something going. But I don't know, that one really kind of bothers me. So waiting for the 3rd one, the tiebreaker, to see what that is. It is a short film. I do think I can do this. I think I can shoot it, so that may be a project for this spring. And because I don't know where I'm going to be, if I'll be here in LA, if I'll be back home on the East Coast, I've already started looking into arrangements of locations for in both places, on both coasts, that I can shoot it at. So keeping that in mind. But I'm going to try and take the bull by the horns here, and if I can't get somebody else to produce one of my pieces, I'll produce it and put it out there and see what happens. Anyway, that should catch you up with everything that's been going on, and in the next day or 2, I will post an article about BAFTA. Please give me your opinion back on that, on the case for diversity in filming. Anyway, that's all for now. I am William Gilmore for thescreenwritersjourney.com. I will see you back here next time. Hopefully it won't be quite as long, and until then, please, don't do what I did. Keep writing.